Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to plunge headfirst into some declassified CIA documents about UFOs.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is. We're talking like from 1947 all the way to 1990. And get this, we've got a study from the CIA itself about their UFO history.
Wow, that's pretty amazing to get that kind of a look inside.
Right. So many questions to answer. Did they actually investigate flying saucers? I mean, really investigate.
Yeah.
And if they did, what did they find out? And hold on to your hats, folks. How much did that super secret U-2 spy plane have to do with all those UFO sightings you hear about?
Yeah, the U-2 is a big one.
It is. And luckily, we've got our expert here who's, well, an expert on all of this. They can connect all the dots between the history and all these crazy details in the documents.
Well, I'll do my best. I'm excited to dive into all this with you.
Okay, let's rewind back to 1947. Cold War tension is brewing, and bam, flying saucers are suddenly everywhere.
Right, yeah.
What really kicked off this whole modern UFO craze was a pilot named Kenneth Arnold. He was flying near Mount Rainier.
Oh, I've heard of him.
He saw 9 of these, like, disc-shaped objects. They were zipping around super fast.
Yeah, his sighting totally captured the public's imagination, didn't it? I mean, it really set the stage for everything that came after.
Absolutely. And the Air Force, they sat up and took notice. They launched Project SciGN, to figure out if UFOs were a threat.
Right.
And then came Project GRGEE, and after that Blue e-book,
Yeah?
they were all trying to get to the bottom of these mysterious lights in the sky.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that all this is happening during the Cold War. Everyone was on edge. Like, seriously, on edge. Any little thing in the sky could set off a panic.
Yeah, like, were the Soviets up to something? Was it a new weapon?
Exactly.
Okay, so where does the CIA fit into all of this? Were they chasing UFOs too?
Well, they weren't officially tasked with investigating them.
Okay.
But they were definitely keeping an eye on things.
Keeping an eye on things, huh?
Especially as the number of sightings kept going up in the early 50s.
And then things really got wild in July 1952, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when a bunch of mysterious blips popped up on radar over Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
No one could explain them. Even the White House was like, what the heck is going on?
Those radar blips, later they figured out it was just temperature inversions. But at the time, everyone was freaked out. The CIA, they were worried about, was it the Soviets messing with us?
Right.
Some kind of new tech. Little green men weren't really on their minds yet.
It's all about national security. Makes sense. So what did the CIA actually do about all this UFO stuff?
They put together a top secret study group. They wanted to know, could these UFOs be a threat to the U.S.?
Okay, so the CIA is secretly looking into UFOs while the Air Force is out there publicly debunking them. Kind of mixed messages, right?
Yeah, I know. And all that secrecy would come back to bite them later on. It just made people more suspicious and fueled all sorts of conspiracy theories.
Of course. Then in 1953, we have CIA Director Walter Bedell Smith, who was like, enough is enough. We need a real scientific look at this UFO thing.
And that led to the Robertson panel.
The Robertson panel.
Yeah.
A whole team of top scientists, physicists, astronomers, radar experts, you name it.
All brought together to look at a ton of UFO reports. Pictures, films, the whole shebang. They wanted to figure out if there was any real threat or, if we were dealing with aliens.
So what did they conclude? Did they crack the case?
They said there wasn't any evidence of a direct threat to national security or proof of aliens.
Oh, okay. Case closed then.
Well, not quite. The Robertson panel, they also said that the government should try to debunk UFO reports, like use the media to calm everyone down.
Why did they say that?
They were worried about mass panic, especially with the Cold War already making everyone jittery. They thought, what if the Soviets use this UFO thing to spread chaos?
So the CIA was worried about the Soviets using UFOs for disinformation. But at the same time, they were being all hush-hush about their own UFO investigations.
Exactly. And that double standard, it definitely didn't help build trust with the public. They were worried about Soviet disinformation, but they were kind of engaging in disinformation themselves.
A little ironic, huh? This whole thing just keeps getting more and more twisted. So we've got Cold War fears, strange sightings, a secret CIA study group, and a panel of scientists saying, don't worry, it's probably nothing. What happens next?
Well, this is where things take a really interesting turn, because in the mid-1950s, the CIA brings in a new player, the U-2 spy plane.
The U-2. And that, my friends, is a story for part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back. We're right in the middle of the CIA and UFOs.
Okay, let's talk about this U-2. It was, like a super high-tech spy plane from the Cold War, made to fly way, way up high. 60,000 feet to spy on the Soviets.
It really changed the game for, like, aerial spying. Flying that high, it could gather intel they couldn't get before.
But get this. Back then, in the 50s, your average commercial plane was cruising at like 10, maybe 20,000 feet tops.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's a huge difference. The U-2 was up where basically no civilian aircraft ever flew.
Exactly. So imagine this. It's getting dark, you're driving, and you look up, and there's this shiny thing, super high, catching the last bits of sunlight. It's moving fast, and it's like nothing you've ever seen.
I can see how people would think, whoa, UFO.
And guess what? CIA folks later said that probably more than half, like over half, of the UFO reports from the late 50s to the 60s, those were actually U-2s.
Wow, really? That's amazing how something so secret could cause so many sightings.
And remember how the Robertson panel said the government should debunk those sightings to stop panic?
Right.
Well, the Air Force was stuck. They couldn't say, hey, that's our super secret spy plane.
So they just had to come up with other excuses.
Yeah. They blamed it on weather balloons, weird temperatures, even flocks of birds.
Oh, so it's like they were trying to keep things calm, but by not being honest, they made people even more suspicious.
Exactly. It's almost funny, but also kind of messed up.
It's like that saying, the cover-up is worse than the crime. And this wasn't even a crime, it was just a secret program.
Right. And of course, the UFO folks, the ufologists,
Yeah.
they weren't buying it. Guys like Donald Kehoe, Leon Davidson, they were pushing hard for the government to come clean.
They were digging into those official statements, pointing out all the things that didn't add up.
Yeah, especially about that Robertson panel. They wanted that whole report released.
But the CIA, they were sticking to their guns, all about secrecy. That just made people even more convinced they were hiding something, which, well, they were.
It's such a vicious cycle. The more secretive they were, the more suspicious people got.
Oh, totally. And then some of the stuff that happened between the CIA and those ufologists, it's almost too weird to believe.
Yeah, like that thing with the Mayer sisters in Chicago.
Oh, you mean the alien message they recorded?
Which turned out to just be some Morse code from a U.S. station.
I know, right? It's hilarious in hindsight. But the CIA got involved, trying to get their hands on that recording without anyone knowing it was them. The documents even compare it to that play, Arsenic and Old Lace.
Like they were in a spy comedy or something.
I know. But these things, even though they sound small, they really show how the CIA struggled with all this. They wanted to control the story, but they ended up looking even more shady.
Right, totally backfired.
And this is all before we even get to the Condom Committee, this big investigation in the late 60s.
Yeah, another attempt to figure out what's up with UFOs.
The Condon Committee was a lot more public than that Robertson panel. They were really trying to examine every angle.
What was the CIA's role in that?
They were trying to stay out of the spotlight, but they did help out with some of the technical stuff. Like, they had experts in photo analysis and whatnot, but they were very, very low-key about it.
They learned their lesson about being too involved, huh?
Yeah, they knew that anything they did could get twisted around and start new conspiracies.
So did the Condon Committee put an end to the whole UFO debate?
No. They basically said, look, we don't think UFOs are worth studying anymore. But for a lot of UFO believers, that just sounded like more dodging the truth.
It's like no matter what the government did, it just made things worse.
Yeah, the secrecy and denials, it just made people distrust them even more.
And then in the 70s, we get this game changer, the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA for short.
That was huge. It basically said that people have the right to see government information, a big win for transparency.
And of course, UFO groups jumped on that, right? They were like, give us all your UFO files.
Oh yeah, one group even sued the CIA to try to get those documents released.
So did they win? Did the CIA spill the beans?
Kind of. They released a bunch of stuff, hundreds of documents.
Wow.
But they kept some others secret, saying it was, national security, which, you can guess what happened, just made people more suspicious.
Oh yeah, of course. So we've got the U-2 accidentally becoming a UFO star, the CIA trying to keep everything under wraps, and FOIA forcing them to open up, but not all the way. What comes after that?
Well, the story's not over yet. We've got Roswell, Majestic 12, and the CIA's foray into, wait for it, parapsychology.
Welcome back, everyone. Last part of our deep dive here.
We've been through a lot. Sightings, Cold War jitters, the U-2 accidentally becoming a UFO.
And the CIA kind of making things worse sometimes while trying to, control the story.
Yeah, but there's that big question hanging over all of it.
The one everyone wants to know. Did the CIA ever find, proof?
Proof of aliens.
Yeah, real evidence of extraterrestrials. What do these documents say?
Well, based on what you've given me, it seems like, no. Their focus was always national security. Were UFOs a threat to us from another country
Yes.
or something totally unknown?
So not exactly hunting for little green men, but they weren't ruling it out either, huh?
Right. There was always that possibility, that unknown factor that kept them interested. Makes sense, given what they do and all that Cold War tension.
And honestly, sometimes the CIA made it hard to, just dismiss the wilder theories. All that secrecy about the U-2, trying to debunk UFOs while also investigating them.
Yeah, it definitely made people think there was more going on than they were saying.
Okay, so if we accept they didn't find hard proof of aliens, what's the takeaway? What did we learn?
A few things stand out to me. First, the UFO thing was really tied to that time period. The Cold War, everyone was scared, suspicious.
Yeah, like any weird light in the sky had to be the Soviets.
Exactly. Second, the CIA, even though they were often in the background, they really shaped how the public saw UFOs.
By being so secretive.
Right. Debunking, then staying silent. It just created more questions than it answered.
And lastly, even without proof, people are still fascinated by UFOs. Why is that?
I think it's that part of us that wants to believe in something bigger, something beyond what we know. It challenges our understanding of, well, everything.
Speaking of big mysteries, we got to mention Roswell, right?
Of course. That alleged crash in New Mexico back in '47, the Air Force said it was a weather balloon, but people still talk about it today.
And then there's Majestic 12.
Ah, those supposedly top secret documents about a government group that collects crashed UFOs.
Pretty sure those were fake, but they sure got people's attention. Some mysteries just never die, do they?
Nope. So what about the CIA in the 80s? Did they finally give up on UFOs?
Well, not completely. Regular UFO investigations, those kind of faded away. But they got interested in something even weirder.
Oh, what's that?
Parapsychology? Like psychic stuff.
Whoa, seriously. ESP, remote viewing, all that, that's like straight out of the X-Files.
I know, right? They were looking into unconventional explanations for UFOs.
So even the CIA was open to those possibilities. Wild.
Well, after all this digging, do we have a final answer about UFOs?
Not really. These documents don't give us a simple yes or no. But they do tell a pretty amazing story, full of contradictions. It shows you how complicated things get with secrecy, government investigations, and that human need to understand the unknown.
Sometimes the best stories are the ones that leave you with more questions, huh?
Exactly. The UFO thing, it makes us think critically about what we know and what we don't, about our place in the universe.
Well said. This has been an awesome journey through the CIA and UFOs, from those early days to the U-2 and all the strange twists and turns.
And it reminds us that there's always more to learn.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring.